poorly narrated in this country and throughout the world. When people generally see a Black Poppy Rose now, it starts them thinking, well, what is that? What were Black people doing? What else is not being shared? What else is not being discovered? As I take this throughout the entire UK, more people are like, well, how were Black people in the war? Why have we not been taught this? I was born in this country, I'm 34 years old, and when I went to school, none of this narrative was delivered to me. None of it helped me to understand how I, as a Black African woman in this country, how my history is represented and how our cultures are. After the 11th gong, we're going to have our 2-minute silence to remember everyone, not just the African communities, the European communities, the Native American communities, the Indian communities, the Asian communities. It's about all remembrance. However, our pin is to highlight a history that is not understood, that is not uncovered, that is not told. So after the 11th gong, we will start our 2-minute silence. So we've got 1. Okay, after 3, I'd like everybody to breathe in. 1, 2, 3. And out. Again, we're going to do it 4 more times. In. Last one. And it's at this point I'll ask an elder to give us permission to speak. Can we have permission to speak from an elder?
So others here are older than me, but as an elder I would give you permission to speak gladly.
So, bear with me. 100 years ago gives us 2016. It gives us 2 years into World War I. Before World War I, we had a time called the Berlin Conference, 1884-1885, where Europe divided up Africa amongst itself to decide how they would share their resources. When people think, why did we serve in these wars? It's a white man's war. We have to understand it was a white man's world. And they had decided and carved it up for themselves to understand how they were going to benefit from that world. Wars had been continuing and have been continuing for a very long time. So now we have to start understanding what war actually means for every community and every society. So when we get to 1885, we've got wars within Africa, wars within Europe, wars within the world. So when we get to the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand on the 28th of July 1914, that's just the spark that Europe is waiting for to then embark into World War I. Why were we there? When you look at our flags back then, we had Union Jacks on them. For those who served for Britain. When we remember, the French colonies had French flags, the German colonies had German flags. The flags that we see today aren't the flags that were there yesterday. So when we're quick to condemn our ancestors for why they did certain things, sometimes it wasn't a choice. Many people conscripted voluntarily, many people were taken, but the effects that war has caused on many of our communities we're still facing today. But because we don't understand that history, we cannot repair ourselves, we cannot deal with what we need to deal with because we don't understand what has happened. So we're going to pour libations to our ancestors. We give thanks, we give praises, we give remembrance for their honour. I'm going to ask my son, Missionary, to pour because the future needs to understand why we do these things. They need to understand the significance of remembering us and those who came before us, because that's what they're going to be passing down. If they have nothing to remember, what can they build? If they have nothing to understand, how do they understand themselves? How do they start internalizing what it means to be an African or a black or a West Indian, whatever we choose to call ourselves? But how do they understand what that means within a society that talks so highly about diversity? So I'd like we're going to have an open session for people to call out names. If any of your relatives or anybody you know or anybody you think is worthy of remembering, please share them with us. So to all those who came before us, who have done great things, magnanimous things, brave things for our existence today, we honour, respect and pave the way for your memories so our future understand who and what they are. We give thanks, we give praises, we give honour for that. So for a little bit, and afterwards we're going to say Ashe after each part. So Ashe. Ashe. We give thanks to those who gave their lives courageously in war on the continent of Africa, which speaks over 3,000 languages, over 3,000 cultures, over 3,000 traditions. We give thanks and we give praises for their memories. Ashe. 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 To those from the North Americas, the Native Americans, the West Indians, the people who came before those of us who travelled there and had been travelling for many years, we give thanks, we give honour, we give praises for your contribution. Ashe. Ashe. To those from Asia, from the Ottoman empires, from the Chinas, from the Indias, from the Sri Lankas, from the countries that we know today that weren't called those days yesterday, we give thanks, we give praises. Ashe. Ashe. The Pacific Islanders, the Australians, the Native Americans, Aborigines, the Fijians, the Maori. We give thanks for your contribution, for your honour, for your praise. Ashe. Ashe. For those of us who served right here in Europe, many of us don't know or understand the presence of our communities within Europe here. It takes all the way back to 1066, just as it does the Anglo-Saxons and Jutes. And we are paying homage to that ancestry, we're paying homage to that memory. May we continue to remember, may we not continue to be shy about sharing our memories, and then for us to be fearless about why we believe we have every right to be here and to be treated equally like everybody else. And may we never forget that. Wanting to be treated equally is not a requirement, it's something that we all have been destined to have, but yet we still seem to be apologising for that here in 2016. So maybe we give honour to that memory, give honour to today and tomorrow, and the tomorrows that we continue to build together to make sure that we have the respect that is due, make sure we have the understanding and the history that we need to help make us whole. We give thanks. Ashe. Ashe. At this point, would anybody like to call out names for those that we're going to be remembering? So I'm going to say Al-Haji Gronchi. He fired the first shot in the First World War for the British side, and this name is generally not a name that is brought forward, so I put forward his name.
I'd like to say remembrance for the tribes of the West Africans, for the Mandinkas, for the Jolofs, for the Wolofs, for the Akan, for the Yoruba, for the Igbo. All the tribes that went from West Africa
Ashe.
and from the others. Ashe.
Ashe.
I'd like to remember Lionel Turpin. He was born in Guyana and he came over for the British. Also Walter Tull. He was of mixed ancestry and he was fought for the football regiment on behalf of the British. I'd also like to remember Norman Manley, Jamaica. He studied in Oxford University and he was then a part of the British soldiers at World War I. And also, Ashe.
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 Loud.
Sam King.
Sam King.
Ashe. Ashe.
Anybody else? Just shout them out now.
Kwame and Nkrumah.
Kwame Nkrumah. Ashe.
Ashe.
Mrs. Mabel Carter.
Mrs. Mabel Carter. Ashe.
Ashe.
Khudadat Khan and all the Indian soldiers, you know, from the Indian subcontinent.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Horace Bishop.
Ashe.
Walter Barrow, first Prime Minister of our militant part in the RAF in World War II.
Ashe.
Ashe. Albert Seymour Tucknell, born in Jamaica, joined the RAF 1944, died in Sheffield, South Yorkshire, 2008. Ashe.
To the British West India Regiment, to the West African Frontier Force, to the King African Rifles, to the number 92nd and 93rd Infantry for the African Americans, to the number 2 Construction Battalion for Canada, to the South African Labour Corps, to the Fijian Labour Corps, to the Maori Pioneers Battalions. We give honour, we give praise, we give thanks for your contributions that you have served within World War I. We give thanks. Ashe.
Ashe.
And to all the unknown Commonwealth soldiers.
And to all the unknown soldiers, unknown people, people who don't exist today, we give thanks, we give honour, we give praises. Ashe. 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 And Marcus Garvey. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
We're not forgetting Marcus Garvey. I really think this again. Without him, I guess nothing is possible. Because black is for the people. So with the Black Poppy Rose, black is for the people. The Honourable Marcus Garvey gave us that term. That's why it's black. That's why it will only ever be black. Because that's what he's given us. Because his understanding was for all African people throughout the diaspora coming together economically, politically, socially and geographically, for us to start understanding how we need to work together to be able to, so I'm filming at the same time, to be able to govern ourselves, understand for ourselves, teach ourselves and have something that we can contribute to this planet. He said to the men, why are we not serving? If every other man is going to war, why is the black man not going to war? If we didn't go to war, what would have been happening? Think about it realistically. We live in modernity, so our thoughts are very much